Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show that covers all things marketing. The GSMC Marketing News Podcast gives you the latest marketing news, from what major businesses have planned for the coming year to the newest trends in advertising, from podcasts, digital and streaming, to the old standbys of radio, television, and billboards. Whether you're a marketing agent or a business trying to expand your brand, you've come to the right place. The GSMC Marketing News Podcast starts now.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie, and on today's episode of the podcast, we had just such an overwhelming response to our last podcast about the COVID-19 marketing and how you can be handling the crisis from your home and still keeping your marketing afloat, that we thought we would do a part 2 to that series and just continue talking about the pandemic that is definitely affecting everybody we know. It is affecting our companies. It is really just affecting our world. So we thought we would definitely space it out into 2 different episodes because obviously every hour, every day, and every week we are getting more and more information about the crisis. So definitely staying updated and staying just alert to everything that is going on is super important, especially when it comes to your business. So what I would love to ask everyone to do right now is, if you have a tip, if you have a trick of how you are staying afloat, how you're keeping busy, how you're keeping sane while we're all in isolation right now, please write it in the review down below or reach out through social media. I definitely think things like this podcast and social media and YouTube videos is definitely one of the resources we have that really connects us all together in a time where we all really feel lonely and isolated because we're in quarantine. So it can definitely be useful just to shine some light on somebody's day by writing a nice comment about how you've been making it through the day. Or you could totally make my day and subscribe to this podcast and write a lovely review. We post new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We talk about all the things marketing. I always update you on the news. So if you like this type of podcast, if you like the content we've been creating, then please subscribe, because once you subscribe, we can put that in our data metrics and we can market the marketing podcast more effectively. So it always comes back to data with me. It definitely does. I'm always keep track of your data. So please just make sure you subscribe. We would definitely appreciate it. Okay, let's jump right into today's episode by talking about what is new in the marketing world. Our first story is that Netflix is to slow down streaming so the internet doesn't break. Obviously, that is a bit of an exaggeration, but it was the news article I read, and I really liked it just because I was like, the internet breaking is definitely not something we can all afford right now. It is how we are all keeping afloat, it seems. So Netflix is tapping the brakes on its download speeds in Europe in order to reduce network bandwidth now that millions of people have committed to staying at home and watching Netflix. Obviously, I would just like to make the side point. It is very interesting how much attention Netflix is getting during the crisis, considering it's not the only streaming service. I have found myself watching Amazon Prime multiple times this week. Hello, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel is on Amazon Prime, so I don't know why Netflix is getting all this attention. If you know why, write it in the review down below. I would love to hear your thoughts. But anyways, the EU Commissioner Terry Brenton has called Netflix to reduce the streaming quality in Europe, a move to limit overall bandwidth usage as more users turn to streaming services for in-home entertainment during the coronavirus outbreak. Netflix traffic has long accounted for a significant portion of the world's bandwidth usage. A report at the end of 2019 said that Netflix streams made up about 13% of overall internet traffic. So these are really interesting numbers. Obviously, it's something that we have all considered, that obviously Netflix is using quite a bit of the internet traffic, but it is definitely interesting to see at a time like this what's happening and how people like Terry Brenton he's the EU commissioner, has definitely noticed that everyone's on Netflix right now. So if everyone's going to be using Netflix, then perhaps Netflix should reduce their streaming quality. They have always prompted themselves to be like the fastest download speed, high quality, and all these things. So it is definitely interesting, both from a quality product standpoint for Netflix, but also from a marketing perspective of how Netflix has been handling the COVID-19 crisis and how they will continue to handle it as things progress. Our second story is that Starbucks has responded to the demand to drop the vegan milk tax. So for those of you that don't know, right now, if you want to order a drink at Starbucks and it is not using actual dairy, it is using like oat milk or soy milk or one of the vegan milk alternatives, it does cost more money than your average drink. And so a lot of people have taken to calling it the vegan milk tax. So, Starbucks Chief Operating Officer Roz Brewer has said that we'll continue to innovate on plant-based alternatives and beverages. He explained that Starbucks currently pays more for plant-based milk than dairy milk. He continued to say, we expect costs to come down as the supply chain for plant-based options matures, and we'll pass this on to our customers. We'll watch this carefully. The company will also continue to expand this vegan idea of food and beverages onto their actual food menu. On March 3rd, Starbucks added the Beyond Meat cheddar and egg sandwich to its menu at more than 1,400 locations across Canada, making it the first time the chain has featured a plant-based meat option on its menu. The Chief Operating Officer Roz Brewer also said, you'll see this come to the U.S. market. So hopefully this Beyond Meat cheddar and egg sandwich will be coming to the U.S. market soon. Obviously, there is a high demand right now for vegan options, especially once Starbucks released their environmental report that just showed how bad, like, even adding whipped cream to their drinks are. So I'm really happy to see that they are taking active steps to make the vegan milk tax disappear. Obviously, right now, if everyone is still ordering dairy, it's going to be cheaper for them to continue making drinks with dairy rather than with the vegan milk if no one's ordering it. That's just simple supply and demand. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they handle this going forward, and if one day we will live in a world where having dairy from a cow is actually more expensive. It'll definitely be interesting to see going forward. Our third story of today is that Walmart is adjusting their hours once more, and they are adding seniors-only shopping. So Walmart has changed its operating hours for a second time. The store will now be open from 7 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. Any stores that currently are open later than 8:30 p.m. will continue its standard operating hours. The retailer posted on its website, this will further help associates restock the shelves for customers while continuing to clean and sanitize the store. While the store hours change for customers, our associates will continue to have access to their regular scheduled shift and full hours. Walmart also plans to add special shopping hours for older customers, which will take place 1 hour before each store normally opens. COO Donna Smith said, we know our older customers could be more vulnerable to the coronavirus, and to better support them, Walmart is offering special shopping hours. From March 24th through April 28th, Walmart stores will host an hour-long senior shopping event every Tuesday for customers aged 60 and older. So I'm just really pumped that Walmart is taking active steps to help out this community that obviously is at the disadvantage when it comes to self-quarantine themselves. And honestly, I think a lot of companies could take a bit of a lead from Walmart here as to see how they're handling the situation and also how they're marketing the situation, getting the word out. They're still keeping their business open, but obviously they are trying to help their employees, they are trying to help their customers while still helping themselves. So it's really great to see and very, very interesting from a consumer standpoint and also a marketing standpoint. Okay, everyone, we are going to go ahead and take a short break from the podcast, but when we come back, we are going to be talking about marketing trends that have popped up because of the coronavirus. So stay tuned for that. I got 11 trends for you guys because you are listening to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie, and I'll be right back.
Golden State Media Concepts Technology Podcast covers everything tech. The hottest mobile phones, tablets, games. We review it, rate it, test it. Whether you're Microsoft or Apple, Android or iPhone, we'll give it to you black and white. The Golden State Media Concepts Technology Podcast.
And welcome back to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie, and on today's episode, we are doing a part 2 to our coronavirus episode. On a previous episode of the podcast, you can go listen to part 1. We talked about, I think I gave you about 15 different tips of how you can continue your marketing strategies and advertising campaigns while having to stay indoors, and also some ways you can boost your marketing efforts while the coronavirus is going on, because obviously this is impacting us as a society, but it is also impacting our marketing businesses. That is not something we can ignore. So we got a lot of feedback from the first episode, so I thought we would do a part 2. So what I'd like to talk about now is I have found 11 trends that have popped up in the marketing world because of the coronavirus. So let's talk about them right now. Get your pen and paper out because you are going to want to write some of these down. Number 1, the promotion of everyday items will come out over premium products. So this is definitely something that I've been noticing, but hopefully you've been noticing as well. And if you're in a situation where you can really utilize this trend, I highly recommend it. So it's the idea of maybe you sell high quality soaps, but you also sell sanitary soaps that are much, much cheaper. Now is the time to really start promoting those sanitary soaps and have sales on them, have giveaways on them, have promotions stacked on them, BOGO sales, whatever you got to do, because right now the promotion of everyday items are going to bring you in more profit than those premium products, because people are really just looking to shop for their basic needs. They can justify buying those more now. So number 2, scenario planning for how to deploy their dollars if large advertisers' events such as the Olympics are canceled or postponed. So this is also happening right now a lot because Coachella was canceled and the Met Gala was canceled, and so many really big events have been canceled. So you're seeing a lot of marketing companies having to figure out what is going to happen if their event gets canceled. And I mean, you might not be attending the Met Gala, you might not be attending the Olympics. However, you might be attending your local farmers market every week. You might be attending a gala at the end of the month or an event at the end of the month. And so you really need to start figuring out what you're going to do with those marketing dollars and how many marketing dollars were wasted on that event that might not happen anymore. So right now, a trend that we are seeing is a lot of scenario planning for how to redeploy your marketing dollars for large events and small events too, guys. Even the small events cost money, so you definitely got to start considering that. Number 3, marketers will need to closely manage certain spending areas, such as digital, with refreshed ROIs on their new cost levels. So this goes back to your scenario deployment. So if you are figuring out that, all right, we're not going to be spending that amount of money at the event anymore, you are going to want to refocus it on your digital spending, because that is obviously where a lot of people are putting their time and energy into right now. Number 4, focusing your marketing resources in local geographic areas. So again, if you are a local business, but say you ship out across states, or if you're in Canada, provinces, but say you aren't just focused in your one local area, now is the time to really focus your marketing resources in that local area, because people aren't going to be looking to get things shipped to them right now because they're aware it's going to take a lot longer, it's going to cost a lot more money. So really try to focus your marketing resources on your local geographic areas. Number 5, using trends in social media and Google query volume for relevant keywords as indicators to inform your marketing strategies. So these are pop words, guys. It's what is going to be the word that people search for right now? What is going to be the keyword that people are Googling? What is the keyword people are using on social media? What's the hashtag right now? If you can focus those and you can really find a way to utilize those in your marketing, then you're going to see some really great results right now because that's where everyone's attention is. Number 6, quicker responses to optimizing marketing budgets and transfers. This is another big one because right now people are looking to really optimize their budgets for where am I going to be able to spend the most amount of money right now, but also see the most amount of profit. There isn't a lot of, well, let's plan for next year, let's plan for this. Not because we think the world is ending, but because right now we're all aware that times are tough, but they're tough for everyone. So we're really looking to allocate our marketing budgets to specific areas that we are going to see a huge amount of transfer from. Number 7, custom creative addressing the viruses. So this is a really important one, and if you haven't done it already, I highly recommend you do so. Basically, write an Instagram post. Create something creative and something that is, I don't want to strictly say eye-catching because that's not the point, but people are definitely more drawn to those coronavirus creatives right now that are addressing the virus and how the virus is impacting you or your family or your company. People definitely want to hear about it. People want to learn more about it. So creating custom creative assets for your company that addresses the virus is going to be super beneficial to you and your company. Number 8, focusing your marketing tactics that drive online sales. So take a look at your marketing budget right now and tell me what has in the past driven your online sales, and then utilize that. Focus all of your marketing tactics on that. Take a look at your data, figure out what did it in the past, and then really try to utilize that same tactic again. Number 9, reducing marketing investments on campaigns to drive short-term sales. So again, it is not because we think the world is ending, but people are right now very responsive to this week only sales or today only sales, or it'll be shipped to you by the end of the week, it'll be shipped to you by the end of the day, because people are really looking for that quick and easy buy right now. So you're going to see a huge return on investment with those short-term sales. Even if they're not a return customer, I know we always try to focus on the return customer, but right now short-term sales are really going to be beneficial to you. Number 10, keep your brand building campaigns live. So although we're really trying to relocate our marketing budgets, we are resourcing, we're redeploying, and all these other marketing strategies we're focused on right now, although that's important, and I'm never going to say it's not important, because obviously that was most of these trends, but keeping your brand building campaigns alive right now are so important still, because you are still your brand. This will end, and you're not going to want to just totally throw the baby out with the bathwater here. So definitely keep those brand building campaigns alive. Number 11, shifting budgets to promote at-home and delivery-based options. This is a huge one, and you're going to see right now if you go into any major company website, they have all sort of amped up the more. This will be delivered to you by the end of the day. We can bring it to your home. Our store is closed, but we are still totally open, and we can bring it right to your door. You will not have contact with anyone. It is all going to be fine. So companies right now are really trying to promote that. So if I were you, I would jump on this bandwagon, because maybe you're a company who never owned a store, and this is a great way for you to be like, hey, we also have at-home delivery-based options. Here you go. We always have them, actually. It's just a really great way to market yourself and your company. Okay, everyone, we are going to go ahead and take a short break from the podcast, but when we come back, I have 10 companies that are really trying to make a difference and have restructured their way of marketing and their way of campaigning during the time of the coronavirus. So stay tuned for that, because you are listening to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie, and I'll be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie, and on today's episode, we have been talking about the coronavirus and how it has impacted your marketing. Now, we did an episode previously where I talked about 10 companies that are really stepping up and making a difference in the world right now thanks to the coronavirus, or they're trying to help out with the coronavirus in any way they can. And honestly, guys, there are just so many companies that are making a difference that we decided to do a part 2 to this entire episode because, one, we wanted to focus on the marketing side of it, but two, I really want to talk about how these companies have changed their marketing or have stepped up in a different way or in a more unique way to really try to help out with the crisis right now. So I have 10 more companies for you to look at right now, but I do encourage you, if you didn't listen to last week's podcast, go take a listen because we did have 10 other really great companies on there that are doing similar things. So number 1, Starbucks. Starbucks has extended its mental health benefits in partnership with Lyra Health. Starbucks is offering its partners personalized, confidential mental health care. 20 free in-person or video sessions every year for partners and each of their eligible family members. Online scheduling with most providers available within 2 weeks, and access to a provider network of mental health therapists and coaches. This is something I wanted to include it on the list because I'm sure a lot of you are like, well, what does that have to do with the coronavirus? And the truth is that it affects the coronavirus so much. I can definitely say it has been incredibly hard to look at the same 4 walls every day. I mean, I share a 1-bedroom apartment. We're both working from home. Things are tight, and it definitely affects your mental health, not getting out of the apartment every day, not getting out of your house every day, and also just what is happening in the world, and listening to the news and reading news stories, and even listening to this podcast can really make you just sit in it, and you never really get to escape it, and it is definitely affecting our mental health. And so although we all want to take care of our bodies and our health and the health of our neighbors and our community, don't forget about your mental health. And I think that is what Starbucks is really trying to stress, and they really want to ensure that their partners and their employees are well taken care of in that aspect as well. Number 2, Dolce & Gabbana. Dolce & Gabbana has announced that it has partnered with Humanitas University to fund a coronavirus research project. This is great. This is just companies helping companies help the world. Obviously, Dolce & Gabbana has a lot of money. They are like, $500 sunglasses? So definitely be doling that out, guys. I think it's really, really great. Number 3, McDonald's. McDonald's has stated that it will cover sick leave for any employees at corporate-owned locations who are asked to quarantine for 2 weeks. This is really great, guys, because I know so many people who are working hourly who are being affected by the coronavirus because they can't go into work, so they are getting like less hours, and that's their rent money, that's their grocery money. They can't live off of McDonald's. So it's really great to hear that they are taking care of their employees and they are ensuring that everyone who works at McDonald's is healthy and happy and well taken care of. Number 4, Walmart. Walmart has deployed an emergency leave program, which provides time off for employees depending on various coronavirus threat levels. This is another really great example because obviously things like McDonald's and Walmart are going to be huge industries that are affected both with their customers, because people obviously need McDonald's. They don't need McDonald's, but they need food, and they need Walmart, and people are going to go to McDonald's for food. Let's face it, we're in the middle of a crisis right now. People are freaking out. We need salt. We need fries. Anyways, so people are obviously going to be going there a lot more, so they want to ensure that they're always fully staffed so that they can help people. But if your staff isn't able to come in, they shouldn't lose hours. Everyone is dealing with this problem. So it's really great to see another really big company like Walmart stepping up and really trying just to help out. Number 5, Uber. Uber has announced they will provide 14 days of sick pay for drivers or delivery workers, technically considered independent contractors who have not previously qualified for paid leave or benefits, who are sick with the coronavirus or are required to be isolated. This is, again, just great because these workers are obviously going to be out of work, and if they've always been considered independent contractors, then they don't have things like benefits or paid sick days, so it's really great to see another company stepping up. This entire list is companies stepping up. I don't know why I feel the need to keep saying that, guys. I'm sorry. Number 6, the Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, Bank of New York, Mellon, Citigroup, JP Morgan, Chase, Morgan Stanley, State Street, and Wells Fargo. I know, number 6 is a lot, but they're all banks. They have all stopped all stock buybacks for the second quarter in order to maintain their solvency and liquidation for customers during the outbreak. I know that was a bunch of different companies, but they're all banks. They're all doing the same thing, and they're all doing great things. It is just simply wonderful. Number 7, Delta CEO is foregoing his salary for the year to try to diminish the layoffs. This is really great as well. That's just good on the Delta CEO. A Delta flight once was, I think, 8 hours late for me and delayed, and it was just an awful experience. I got some cold mush from them to eat for dinner, and ever since then I haven't liked Delta, but now thanks to this, I might be changing my tune, guys. Let me know what you think of Delta in the comments down below. Let's have a good discussion about Delta. Does this change how you think of Delta? Number 8, U-Haul. U-Haul has announced 30 days of free self-storage to all college students who have been impacted by schedule changes at their university. Another great company. Just trying to help out in all situations. Number 9, Lululemon. Lululemon is closing all of their stores in North America and Europe for the next 2 weeks. Their employees will be paid for all of the hours they were scheduled to work. This is also really great, and this is by far one of the best things I have seen for hourly workers right now, because you're still getting paid what you would have. All of your planned out budgeting is still going to be fine, and I thought that was terrific for sure. And number 10, we've all already heard of this company, but it is so great what they are doing. Disney has closed its parks and cruises in response to the coronavirus, but they have promised to continue paying their employees during the closure and will give refunds to all those who planned on visiting. Wonderful. Over the top wonderful. I can't get over it. Disney, you're doing great. And here's the thing. I brought this up with Delta, but I would like you guys to comment on it with all the 10 companies. Does this change your perspective on them? Do you think you'll start using them more due to this sort of good publicity for them? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the review down below. Thank you so much for listening to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and I'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the GSMC Marketing News Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on SoundCloud, Stitcher, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to any podcast app, and you'll find all of the shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, from business news to weird news, you'll find it all on the GSMC Podcast Network. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.